Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. What's up? If you're new to my channel, my name's Caroline, and on here we talk about books, we talk about life, and we have a lot of fun. Let's get right into it. I cannot believe it's February already. January's over. Today's video, we are going to be doing a deep dive into my January wrap up. I had a really great reading month. I hope y'all did too. I hope that this was a really great start to y'all's year. January, life-wise, was kind of crazy for me. Just when it rains, it pours. I'm sure y'all know. And yeah, life is just, it's lifing. But we're going to take a break from all the adulting today and we're going to just talk about some books. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified when I post. That'll be every Wednesday and some Saturdays. And stick around. Let's hang out. So I want to hop into my January stats for the month. Every month I do, after my wrap up, I do a stat page in my book journal, and I just kind of want to give you an overview before we hop into all my reviews and my thoughts about the books. First, I read 10 books this whole month. I read 6 books in paperback, 2 in hardback. 3 of them were on Kindle, whether they were an eARC or I split my reading experience between physical and Kindle. And then 2 books were eARCs, just full eARCs. I read 3,404 pages this month with an average rating of 3.9 stars because I give out 5 stars a lot. And my most read genre was thriller and true crime. So that kind of gives you a gist of what this month is going to look like. And yeah, we're just going to hop right into all of my thoughts and reviews. First book that I started January with was Josie Silver's A Winter in New York. This one I ended up giving a 4-star. I'm looking at my, actually, I'm going to show you. This is kind of what my reading journal looks like right now. So I have all of the books and their little, like my ratings and reviews and everything. And that goes on for however many books I'm going to be reading this year. And then I'm actually going to be doing like a get to know my reading journal video because I have hand drawn my entire reading journal this year. I could not find a reading journal that I really wanted to use that I could pre-buy, like already built for me. So I got on Pinterest and just compiled a bunch of ideas and like put them all together. And I really have liked how it turned out. So I'll be doing a whole video kind of going through all my spreads so that y'all can use my ideas if y'all want to. Okay, back to Josie Silver. So yeah, I picked up A Winter in New York by her. I started reading this on the 31st of December and I finished it on the 3rd. So this was my first book I picked up and it was so cute. Josie Silver was probably my first book I ever read when I got back into reading in my adulting phase. And it was One Day in December, which is like, I think it's her debut novel, but that one I would 100% recommend. It is the cutest, warmest, coziest holiday read. It's not Christmas, it's just very wintry. And it's set in London and it's really great. Y'all should go pick this one up. This is another one I would recommend. It was cute. It wasn't a 5-star read for me. Basically, we're following Iris and Bobby and no, not Iris and Bobby. Iris and Geo. Bobby is Iris's best friend and they like live together. They're in they share like a flat in New York. And so they are best friends. We follow her. She's moved to New York to escape an abusive relationship. And her mother has passed away. And her mom is like her best friend or was her best friend. And we're following her actually trying to, or she has a gelato recipe that her mom has passed down to her. And it's like top secret. Like this gelato recipe cannot get out. And she's in New York. She actually stumbles upon this restaurant and she's like, this looks really similar. And she ends up finding out that it's a restaurant her mom had really close ties with. So she goes and like does some investigating on who these people are, how they intertwine with her life and her mom. And they ended up being the family, the gelato family that gave her mom this gelato recipe. And it was just really wholesome, very little spice. Gio and Iris are adorable, but I really loved the almost like found family aspect of it. It was very, there was like turmoil and conflict in the book, but it wasn't super heavy on it. There wasn't a huge third act breakup, which was really great. It was just really, it was a good like tone setter for the whole year, I think. It was just super fast paced, super easy to read, adorable. Like I said, Gio's family, the Bellattis, they are just so cute. And the way they brought Iris in, especially after they found out who her mom was and their past, it was just really great to see that family adopt her after she kind of lost her whole family in her mom. So that was number one. The next one I picked up, I'm going to put right here. It was The Wrong Sister by Claire Douglas. This one I got as an ARC. If you see an ARC, they're sent to me for free by the publisher. Most of them I get off NetGalley. Some of them I'll get sent here and there. But this one I did get as an ARC. It was my first Claire Douglas, and I'm really upset that I've waited so long to read her. This one was so twisty, and I just couldn't put it down. And that's exactly what I look for in thrillers: is fast pace, keep me entertained, keep my attention, and have a good twist at the end, a good conclusion. And this one did have all of that. It follows two sisters who are really close. They do like a life swap for 1 week, and one sister has kids, one's rich and has just a husband, and they switch to kind of get a break from their current lives. And you think it's going to go all right, and the couple that has kids is going to get like a good trip, a little relaxation trip. And then a tragedy strikes back home, and they have to run back, pick up all the pieces. And as they're going through this tragedy, basically, rich sister and her husband have gotten attacked in the house of the other main character, and the kids are with them. And you're kind of following them, like, why did they get attacked? Was the other couple the target couple? And the ending, I don't even know how she thought about that ending. Like, I don't even know how she thought it up, but it's really good. I gave it I think a 3.75 star. The only thing that I didn't like were some of the characters were really annoying. Like the rich sister in it, I did not like her at all. She was essential to the story, but I didn't love her. And it just wasn't one of my favorite reads. I would never read it again, but I would recommend it if you're looking for something fast-paced. This one has already been released for a while, but I believe it's getting reprinted in the hardcover, which is why I got sent an ARC for the new cover. But yeah, if you're a hardcover girly and you like reading hardcovers only, you should totally get that one when it comes out. Next, I picked up Between the 7th and the 10th, and that is The Defense by Steve Kavanaugh. This one is my top read of the month. Maybe it's going to be really hard to beat. It's going to be really hard to beat. This one is his Eddie Flynn series. Eddie Flynn, from what I can gather, he is a ex-con, ex-lawyer, ex-grifter, ex-hustler, and now he's just trying to be a dad and figure out life. And basically, he gets targeted by the Russian mob to come and win a court case of their leader, their mob. What are they called? Mob boss? Is that what it's called? Yeah, the mafia boss, the mob boss. He comes and they're like, you're going to get me off free or you're going to die, you and your family. And I'm not going to tell y'all very much because I feel like you need to go in as blind as possible. But my favorite part about this book was the characters. Arturus in this book, he is the mob boss's like minion, like he's his little right hand sidekick, and he is the one orchestrating all of this, how they're gonna get off scot-free, because they did it, they did the thing, but it's the Russian mob. Like, you have to get out. Like, you can't, they have all the power and control. So, like, they're going to get their way. And Eddie Flynn is the person they're going to get their way through. And Steve Kavanaugh writes super short chapters. They are left on a cliffhanger most of the time, similar to John Marr's writing style. To the crime thriller, the organized crime aspect of this was so well done. How many different like gangs and different entities, government entities and things like that were involved. It was just so intricate and well thought out, which I thought was super essential to how the story was portrayed and how it was understood. This series is like, I think it's a 8 or 9 part series right now. This is the first one. I'm going to be reading the second one this month. It's called The Plea. I'm not sure how the series is going to keep going or how it's going to wrap up, and I'm not going to read the back of any of his other books, but I really love Steve Kavanaugh. If you like short, fast-paced, they are very action-packed, not necessarily gory or violent. They're definitely violent, but they're not gory. They're just very action-packed. You feel like you're in a movie, and I literally was sweating in this book, sweating. This series has got to be made into a movie. Yeah, it was just so good. I made a mood board that I'll actually show y'all for this. Every month in my wrap-ups, I do a monthly spotlight in my book journal. And this month was the defense, and so this was my mood board. I got all these pictures off Pinterest. I'll link my boards down below. But definitely crime thriller, very, is he going to make it out alive? What's going to happen? Very, very strong character development and character arcs, and they carried the story. They made the story, was the characters. The next one I picked up was a nonfiction. Oh my, this little hair. It was a nonfiction. That was While Idaho Slept by J. Reuben Appelman. This one I picked up between the 11th and the 12th. I picked it up and I finished it in one day. It's a pretty short nonfiction read. If you're interested in learning more about this story is about the Idaho 4 college students who were brutally killed a couple years back in their off-campus house, and truly a heartbreaking story. Before I get into it, before I share my rating, a heartbreaking story. I am a college student. I'm still in college. I'm going to graduate in the next couple of years, and it is just really, it's very scary. The world we live in it's a scary place. And these kids, they did nothing wrong. They were just trying to live their life and make the best choices they could. And unfortunately, they were attacked. And it's basically following, we don't know the outcome to the trial yet. They do have someone arrested for the killings. And this is a whole deep dive. It's a deep dive into not just the crime, but the history of the victims. I did give this one a 5-star before I keep going. I gave it a 5-star because I was just really impressed by how the author didn't make it this speculative, like, media grab. These are actual people's lives, and families have lost their kids. Parents have lost their kids. Families have lost their siblings. They've lost essential parts of their family. And I think that, especially in the current day, in our social media environment, we are super rash. We're super quick to judge. We say things that are super hurtful about people. And that has been a lot of what the true crime community has been. There's a lot of victim shaming, I feel like, going on. There's a lot of insensitivity of just what are like family members maybe watching these videos, they may be reading these books, and is that something you would want to see if it was your family member? And I feel like this book did a really good job of focusing on the kids' lives, their families, how they remembered them, their life before this tragedy, and the legacy they left behind. How are people remembering them? And I think that's so important because we have to keep those people's memories alive and focus on the depravity of it, the sheer just insanity of taking another person's life. And yeah, I just really, I don't want to say enjoyed it. I did enjoy reading it. It was very, I've watched a lot of videos, I've read a lot of books about it, and I feel like there was new stuff in the book that I had never heard about before, whether that was a perspective or a fact or evidence or whatever. There were different people that I had never heard of in the case before that J. Reuben Appelman got in touch with that knew the victims. And I think that was really awesome. And I feel like it's just a really good book to pick up if you like true crime, if you want to know more about that court case, about that tragedy before the court case does wrap up. That's a good short one to pick up. It's only 288 pages. Like I said, I finished it in a day. I'm not a fast reader. So yeah, let that be your sign to just read it. This one's kind of random, but I picked up Harlan Coben's Fool Me Once. If you know me, you know I love Harlan Coben. He's my favorite thriller author of all time. He can do no wrong in my eyes, and this is another one where he did no wrong. This one I also gave 5 stars. Like I said, I had some really high highs, but I had some really low lows, so stay tuned. This one I picked up because I actually got sent the eARC for the second book in this series called Nobody's Fool, and that's his new book coming out this summer. This one I picked up thinking I needed to read it to be able to read the second one. Before I go any further, that's not necessary, I don't think. I think these are going to be interconnected. I don't think this one's going to be essential to reading Nobody's Fool when it comes out. So I just wanted to preface that because I did go and pick this up thinking I had to read this one first. Secondly, this book was so good. So good. I'm not a big military, like, reading books that have heavy military influence because that's just not something I can relate to. I don't have anybody that I know that's in the military. It's not something I really understand or enjoy learning about or enjoy reading about. This is one of those books that has high military influence, and I was a little hesitant going into it. It's also the trope of like someone goes missing, someone dies, or did they? And that can be really overdone. But this one I just found completely enthralling. Like completely enthralling. I was so bought in the entire time. The rich family that the main MMC comes from, who is the one that's not alive anymore, allegedly, he's not alive, and the wife is now like trying to figure out where he has gone, or because she has gotten evidence that he is still alive. And she's like, wait, I just buried this guy. What do you mean? What do you mean he could be alive? Because there is evidence that he could be alive. So she goes and like starts figuring out all this stuff. And obviously there's a big dark web of deceitful, crazy things that happen, like in every thriller. But Harlan Coben's writing is just unmatched. Like I don't know what he does. I can't put it into words, but every page I read, I just want to know more. Period. That's really the only way I can describe it, is every page, no matter if it's a cliffhanger or not, I just want to know more in every single book he's ever written. And that's what I live for. That's what I live for in thrillers. So this one was another 5-star for me. It's not my favorite from him, but I haven't met one that doesn't deserve a 5-star and that hasn't been perfect. And I will say his other books that are above this one are 6 stars. they're not 5 stars, they're 6 stars. So pick this one up. His new one's coming out sometime in this year. I think it's in April. And that one is Nobody's Fool. That will be in my February wrap up, so stay tuned for that. Okay, then I picked up another eARC. It's a love story by Annabelle Monaghan, or Monahan, however you say her last name. I literally hear everyone say it different, so I will go and learn how to say her name before my next video, because that's important. I don't want to be saying anybody's name wrong, but it's a love story by Annabelle Monaghan. This one I was so excited for. I was so excited for this one. I got sent the eARC. I've never picked up a book from her. I was thinking, this is going to be it. This is going to be it. I've heard such great things. I heard she wrote lit fic with subplots of romance. So I was like, that's for me. Sign me up. And it was not for me. It was not for me. I'm so sorry. I'm going to give her another shot. I'm going to read another one of her books. This one was quite frankly pointless, in my opinion. I mean that as respectfully as possible, but the whole premise was just, in my opinion, like, what? What? In the first chapter, you meet our main character. She is a movie producer. Her name's Jane. She is not a producer. She adapts screenplays, basically. She helps develop the movies. And she is trying to get this new movie picked up by her director or her producers. And she has an arch nemesis named Dan, who is like against this storyline. He's like, this sucks. This is not going to sell movies. This isn't going to sell. This isn't going to get views. We're not doing this. So in the first chapter, you think they're enemies. You think they are enemies. And I just was so confused. I think that was my biggest stumbling point, is we thought it was, I thought it was going to be Dan. Thought the love interest was going to be Dan. Then we find out he's the bad guy, and there's another guy that gets brought in, and then you're thinking like, maybe he's going to be the love interest. Like maybe she's going to go and talk to him, and he's going to get involved, and then they're going to fall in love. And then you get halfway through, and it's like, then you're like, oh wait, it is Dan. Halfway through, I finally was like, oh, maybe it's Dan. That's not a spoiler. It's on the back of the book. He's the love interest. I just don't feel like it was sold to me well. It was just clunky and very mundane. The writing was just very mundane. It was very, why am I learning all of these weird random things? I thought I hated Dan. And I get it could have been like slow burn, enemies to lovers. That's probably what she was going for. I did not get that at all. And I knew by the point I just stopped reading it, and at 60%, I was almost in tears that I had to keep reading it. It was just that painful for me, and that's so heartbreaking. So I did not find any redeeming factors in this book. Take that with a grain of salt. I'm not a heavy romance reader. This was my first Annabelle Monaghan book, and I'm going to give her another shot. This is not me just writing her off, but I will say I was disappointed, but I'm really thankful that I got to read it. It just wasn't for me. Moving on. My next one was in the running for top book of the month. Like I said, high, low. We're about to go back up into a high. And that is The Bitter Truth by Queen Shanora Williams. You know me, you know Shanora Williams is my ride or die. She is my top auto-buy author. I would do anything for her. And yes, I love her books. If you have read her romances, read her thrillers. I personally think she was meant to write thrillers. She was put on this earth to write thrillers. And I am just, I'm speechless. This one is probably my favorite by her now. It used to be The Wife Before, but now I'm going to say it's this one. It's a political thriller. We're following Dominic and Jolene. She goes by Jo in the book, but we're following them. They're a married couple. Dominic is running for North Carolina governor, I believe. Yeah, I believe it's governor. Anyway, he's running for North Carolina political office, and he is top of his game. We're following him on the campaign trail. He's trucking along. He is high in the ranks. Like he's gonna do it. They're a super strong couple, and you end up going, it's dual timelines. So you end up going back in his past, and you find out that he's done some really messed up stuff, like really messed up stuff. Check trigger warnings. It is super graphic, super duper heavy stuff. So definitely check trigger warnings. You find out he's done some messed up stuff. He's becoming distant from Jolene in their personal life. She's kind of like, what's going on? And weird things keep happening to him. He is being haunted by his past and blocking Jolene out of everything. And you're following her perspective, his perspective, their friend's perspective, and past historical timelines perspective on what all is going on. And when I tell you, my jaw was on the floor. Everything you are led to believe in this book is a lie. It's a lie. And in the end, bro, I'm keep rethinking about how this book was like. Just reading this book, I still haven't posted a Goodreads review on it because I can't put it into typed out words. I just can't. I can't even put it out into verbal words right now. I can't even talk it out to you. Just so dramatic. There's so much drama. There's so many twists, so much deception. And one of my favorite things in thrillers is when there is a dirty, messy, dramatic family or friend element where you're following a group of people who just is dramatic about everything, because it just makes a thriller that much higher. Like for me at least. If a thriller is already thrilling and then you put in dramatic people who are living in it, so good. So that's this one. Like I said, political thriller, campaign trail. He's done some messed up stuff. That stuff comes to haunt him, and it's going to be pushed out to the public, and it affects his private life. And Jolene is going to be one of my top characters of the year. She is a killer. Like, she is so strong. I love how Shannara writes strong female leads, and Jolene was no different. She was not taking his crap. She was going to figure it out, and she was going to make her life better, and she was going to fix it. She was going to fix it, whether it made her look bad or not. And I adored everything about it. Literally everything about it. My only thoughts in my reading journal were going to be so hard to beat this thriller this year. It had everything I ever want in a thriller and was so well written. And that encapsulates it. It was just so nail biting, so edge of my seat, and I couldn't ask for anything else. Pick it up if you're a thriller girly, thriller person. Just read it, please. I'm begging you, just read it. So you may be thinking, how do we move on from that? How do we move on from that, Carolyn? You couldn't even give a review. You're speechless. So how do we move forward? It was hard. I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to find anything else that lived up to that this month, and it was hard picking up another book. But the next book I picked up was also a 5-star. And if you read my Goodreads bio, it says thriller girly who hands out 5 stars like candy. That's me. That's me. And yes, I have another 5 stars I'm handing out, and that is to Twisted by Emily McIntyre. Julian Ferrasi. That's the review. Julian Ferrasi. So, number one, check trigger warnings, super dark romance. Super dark romance. These people are, they're just bad, especially Julian. Julian is just a bad guy. He's a bad guy. He does some messed up stuff, says some messed up things. Yasmin is a badass. She is like a strong, strong woman. And Julian is super, super controlling, domineering. He is the I will die without her. But it's arranged marriage, but y'all already know how that works out. But yeah, she is in love with someone else. She is the heir to a very large jewelry empire, and her dad's about to pass away. She wants to marry the guy she is currently with, who is like a server, and she can't have him. That's not fit for her. And Julian wants her so he can take over the company because he is her dad's assistant. And the moods are seductive, tense, sexy, and suspenseful. And it is just, I stopped reading this series, the Never After series by Emily McIntyre, for a while after I got done with Wretched because I did not like that book. I actually hated that book. I think about that book a lot for all the wrong reasons. It was just a horrible book. I did not enjoy it at all. But Twisted, I picked up literally just randomly. I was like, I want a dark romance. I need something easy. I need something just super easy, smutty romance to read. So I picked this up and I'm so glad I did. It was so good. I literally could read a whole nother 400-page book just about Julian and Yasmin and their life after the ending of this book. So if that tells you anything you need to know, it was so good. Pick it up. It's arranged marriage. Really, I wouldn't even say grumpy sunshine. I think it's kind of like grumpy on grumpy because I think Julian and Yasmin are both grumpy. But it's definitely arranged marriage, rich people, enemies to lovers, very tons of tension. Oh my god, the tension is what made this book. Like the tension from page 20 to page 400 was some of the best I've ever read. Like it was so good and I just ate it up. I could not have asked for anything more. I'll probably reread it. I tabbed so much in it. My favorite quote will probably come from this book this month. So pick that one up if you're looking for a super, super fast, smutty, brainless, easy read. Love this one. All right. I have two more left out of my little stack. The next one, it's another low. We're at another low, and that is The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. This one made me so sad. I read In a Holidays at the end of last year, and I love that book by this author. So I picked this one up. I've heard it's one of the better ones from them. I didn't enjoy it. I think it was maybe just right book, wrong time for me. I think it just wasn't what I was in the mood of. But also, I just don't think I was bought into the love interests and their chemistry. It just wasn't really something that even from like the first 10 chapters, I just wasn't super interested in their connection. I feel like it was super rushed, super forced, which it is like relationship for hire. So it is kind of forced. But I just found the FMC so lovable and so believable for the relationship to fall so flat, at least for me. Like with how amazing they wrote the FMC in this book, why couldn't the relationship have been better? Even if it was a relationship for hire plot, they could have made it more believable, in my opinion. And so for those reasons, that's just why I ended up putting it down. I skipped a big chunk of the end of this book and just ended up reading the end. And yeah, I figured it out within 20 seconds of reading it, what the ending was about. And so the middle just didn't matter. And so this book taught me that I need to just DNF when I'm ready. Like, If I'm not into it, just leave it, because I have way too many other books I want to read to waste time on these kind of books. So this one I gave a 1.5. The half attached to the 1 is only because of Anna. Anna is the only redeeming factor in that book, and that's the FMC. So funny. She reminded me a lot of myself. Just her inner dialogue was so self-deprecating, and like just her whole aura was just impeccable, immaculate. I would live in her brain. She was amazing. But other than that, would not recommend that book. Do not understand the hype. And finally, our last book of January. I literally can't believe it's over, but that is The Push by Ashley Audrain. This one I've been wanting to pick up for years, and I just have always thought like, oh, it's going to be too creepy. It's going to scare me. I don't want to read it. Like, I've heard it's so good and so moving, and I had heard that it was really, really terrifying, especially regarding the topic of motherhood. This one I gave a 3.75 stars. I thought it was okay. Some of the things that went in it, some of the topics that they talked about in this book were really great. The whole idea of women feeling like their sole purpose is the use of their body and becoming a mother, and how motherhood just isn't for everyone, and that's okay. I want y'all to know, if motherhood isn't for you, that's okay. 100%. I don't plan on becoming a mother. That's not what I think I was meant to do, or what I feel moved to do or called to do. Some people, it's exactly what they're meant to do, and that's okay. This is one of those books. Our main character, her name's Blythe. She is not feeling motherhood. She's pregnant. You follow the birth of this baby. By the way, it's a traumatic birth. Her daughter ends up coming out, and she doesn't want her. She doesn't want her. It's mainly in her dialogue. She breaks the fourth wall to the reader. You are the husband that she's writing the letter to as the reader. And in that aspect, that's what sold me on this book. The whole premise of like, I'm going to give you my side of the story, and the reader is going to be the person I'm giving that to, but you still hate the reader. Like, you can tell she does not like you as the reader, but it's actually the husband. Anyway, it was a super interesting perspective and viewpoint, and that's what I loved about the book. I hadn't read a book that was told in a viewpoint like this before. It was very unique, and I loved it. I thought it was weird. I thought it was clunky, but in the best way. It was very poetic, very lyrical writing, and I tabbed a lot in this book. I thought there was a lot to learn. My downfall in this book is it wasn't scary. I don't feel like it brought up any points where I was like, that's terrifying. That wants to make me not have a kid. Yes, the kids were messed up, and yes, she lost her identity and her life to having kids, that I feel like most people do, especially in those early times. I don't feel like that's a concept that we don't really get told about. But overall, I think it's a really important book. Super important book. I feel like it's really important for men to read this book in particular, to understand the inner workings of a woman's mind after she has a child, and also the unjust stress and just control, and what am I trying to say? Almost the disassociation it seems women feel after they have babies, of losing life as they knew it, because your life just changes so much overnight within a split second. And I just think Ashley did a really great job of encapsulating that. I'd love to hear, if you're a parent, if you're a mom, how you felt reading this book as a mom. What was your kind of viewpoint? How did you feel? Because I think that is also, you just read it different based on your perspective. So maybe if I had kids, it would be different. I do think it's super important to read this book, especially if you're thinking about having kids, or maybe you're not, and you want to feel seen and you want your feelings to be validated on the fears of motherhood and parenthood, being a parent in general, because being a dad is hard too. But this it just really encapsulated the inner dialogue that our main character Blythe faces and just the decisions that she has to make. It's just really, it's really vulnerable. It's really raw. It's really transparent. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I really thought it was an enlightening book, and it challenged me. And that's what I enjoyed. Yeah, so I think that's all I have for y'all today. Thank y'all so much for joining me for my January wrap up. Like I said, we had a great reading month. I hope y'all did too. Let me know if there's any of these books that you have picked up or you're looking forward to picking up this year. And make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.